Did you know that even today, polls show that as many as 1 in 5 Americans question if we ever truly landed on the moon? For over half a century, the iconic images from Apollo 11 have defined human achievement, but hidden within them are clues to a different story. A story of Cold War desperation, technological impossibility, and perhaps the greatest lie ever told. Let's examine the evidence. Our investigation begins with the most famous symbol of the mission, the American flag, proudly planted on the lunar surface. But there's a problem. In the vacuum of space, with no atmosphere and no wind, the flag clearly appears to be waving. NASA's explanation? A horizontal rod held it out, and the rippling was caused by the astronauts twisting it into the ground. But the flag continues to flutter long after the astronauts have moved away, an anomaly that physics struggles to explain. Now, turn your attention to the sky. In every single photograph taken from the moon's surface, the background is pitch black. Not a single star is visible. Without an atmosphere to obscure the view, the stars should have been breathtakingly brilliant. The official reason given is that the camera's exposure was set for the bright lunar surface, making the faint stars invisible. A convenient explanation or a fatal flaw in the set design. A black backdrop is far easier to create than a perfect star map. Let's move on to the shadows. With the sun as the single powerful light source, all shadows should be parallel. Yet, in numerous NASA photos, the shadows cast by astronauts and equipment point in wildly different directions. This suggests the presence of multiple light sources, much like the lighting setup you would find in a professional film studio. Some shadows are even cast into other shadows, a physical impossibility without a secondary diffused light source. Then there's the lunar lander itself, a 17-ton machine firing a rocket with 10,000 pounds of thrust. Such a force should have created a massive blast crater underneath it and blown away all the surrounding dust. But in the photos, the lander sits on a perfectly undisturbed surface. Not a crater in sight, not even dust on its landing pads. And what about the iconic footprints? In the bone-dry lunar soil with no moisture to bind the dust. How were they so perfectly preserved? Critics argue that to get such a clear print, the soil would need to be mixed with water, an element absent on the moon's surface. Perhaps the most dangerous obstacle was not on the moon, but on the journey there, the Van Allen radiation belts. These belts contain lethal doses of radiation. How did the astronauts survive the passage in a craft with such thin aluminum walls? NASA claims their trajectory was quick and through the thinnest parts. A gamble with human life or a plot hole in the narrative? The photographic evidence itself is riddled with inconsistencies. Take a closer look at the camera's crosshairs. These markers were etched into the camera's lens, meaning they should always appear on top of the image. Yet in several photos, objects from the scene inexplicably appear in front of the crosshairs, as if the images were doctored. Then there is the mystery of the identical backgrounds. 2 photos, taken miles apart, show the exact same backdrop of hills. Is this a strange lunar coincidence, or evidence of a single repeating backdrop used on a film set? And most curious of all, the infamous C rock. A rock in the foreground appears to be perfectly marked with the letter C, a natural formation, or a prop labeled by a set designer and accidentally turned towards the camera. NASA later dismissed it as a stray hair or fiber on the photograph, an explanation many find unconvincing. The astronauts' movements also raise suspicion. The slow, bounding gait could be more than just low gravity. Analysts have shown that by filming actors on wires and simply slowing the footage down by half, you can perfectly replicate the effect. If the technology was available, who had the cinematic skill to direct such a convincing production? Whispers point to one man, Stanley Kubrick, who had just finished his masterpiece, 2001, A Space Odyssey. The theory suggests the U.S. government, desperate to win the space race, secretly hired Kubrick to stage the landings. While there is no definitive proof of his involvement, the circumstantial evidence continues to fuel speculation. Then there is the question of the lost technology. We went to the moon 6 times between 1969 and 1972. Over 50 years later, with exponentially more powerful computers and materials, why have we never been back? NASA claims the original telemetry data tapes from the Apollo 11 mission were lost or erased. The blueprints for the powerful Saturn V rocket have also vanished. How do you lose the technology for mankind's greatest achievement? Perhaps you don't lose it. Perhaps you destroy it, to ensure the secret can never be uncovered or replicated. There is also the disturbing pattern of mysterious deaths surrounding key Apollo personnel in the years following the missions. Whistleblowers or potential leaks. A tragic series of coincidences, or a concerted effort to silence those who knew too much? Of course, for every piece of evidence, there is an official counter-explanation. A debunker for every claim. They say the flag waved because of momentum, that the camera settings hid the stars, that the shadows were distorted by uneven terrain. They have an answer for everything, but are the answers truly satisfying, or do they simply create more questions? Each anomaly taken alone could perhaps be explained away, but together they paint a troubling picture. A picture of a government under immense pressure to beat the Soviets, willing to do anything to declare victory in the space race. Was the moon landing a technological marvel, a testament to human ingenuity that we have since lost the ability to repeat? Or was it the most audacious piece of propaganda ever conceived, filmed in a secret studio and broadcast to a trusting world? The evidence is before you.